TPN orders have been optimized by its integration into CST Cerner. We will go through the workflow process of checking and administering TPN in this short video. When the nurse received notice that the provider has placed a TPN power plan, they go to the orders page and check the orders. They will click on the Parenteral Nutrition, PN/TPN, Initiation, Multiphase, Power Plan Order. From the power plan, there is the TPN Adult Power Form. This is completed by the provider, sometimes with the collaboration of the dietitian. This power form replaces the previous paper order form. Next, there are supplementary orders, such as the daily weight order, dietitian consult order, and lab order. There are two types of lab order. One is for baseline, same-day collection. The other ones are for ongoing lab orders for a length of time. Lastly, we have the additive order of vitamin K. At Lionsgate, we mostly supply our TPN in the form of 3-in-1. Therefore, our additives are not combined in the bag and will require the nurse to administer separately on its own. Now we will go to the MAR. From the MAR, we can see the active TPN order along with the vitamin K order for every Wednesday. In order for the nurse to administer the TPN, they must verify the order by selecting the Medication Administration Wizard, MA, or by clicking the order on the MAR. In this example, we will select the MA. The medication administration window will pop open as expected and the nurse will scan the patient's armband. The orders that are available will be listed in the window. We will now scan the TPN bag. The labels on the TPN bags have been slightly altered. The label that is marked in blue is the abacus label. This label provides patient information, volume order and total, components, order volume overfill amount, rate, and length of infusion. The other label that is marked in red is the CST Cerner label. This label provides patient information, volume, rate, and the medication barcode that we will scan. The nurse review window will appear. The nurse will have to review the order. This is the normal workflow process. We will press Yes and review the order. Select Review after the order has been read. Now, the Discern window will appear. There are three options. The first two from the left-hand side are blue and clickable. The right-hand side selection, Continue Charting, is grayed out. In order to continue charting, the nurse must view the PN order. The nurse must check the TPN order against the TPN bag in order to administer it. We will select the View PN Order button. The Parenteral Nutrition, PN/TPN, Adult Power Form will open. This power form has replaced the old paper form. It is filled in by the provider with or without the assistance of the dietitian/clinicians. The pharmacy will receive the power form and provision it. The first section of the power form contains information on the indications for the patient receiving TPN. In the next section, the formulation and caloric amount is listed. As mentioned before, at Lionsgate, the most common formulation is 3-in-1. The next section lists the ordering provider and the dietitians and clinicians that took part in collaborating on the order formulation. The order start date and infusion length are also listed. The next heading shows the amount of macronutrients provided in the TPN bag. The nurse will use the abacus label to compare with the power form. The nurse will continue to compare the abacus label with the power form for the next two sections. As Lionsgate is supplied with standard TPN formulations, the nurse will compare the standard orders section of each component with the abacus label. The last section of the power form contains information, such as the order volume, the infusion duration, and infusion rate. It also provides information on the acceptable range for PN order volume. This lists the amount of fluctuation on the volume of the TPN that is within normal limits. In addition to this, there is also an overfill amount of 100 milliliters that may be seen on TPN bags due to the variations of components supplied in each TPN bag. The overfill amount is listed on the abacus label. If the volume varies greater than the acceptable range for PN order volume and the overfill volume, please contact the pharmacy prior to administering to the patient. When the nurse has completed reviewing the TPN order and compared the power form with the TPN bag, they can close the power form by clicking the red X. The Discern window will pop up again. This time the Continue Charting selection has turned green and is clickable. This indicates that the TPN order and TPN bag have been checked. The nurse will now proceed to the TPN administration phase. The nurse will click Continue Charting. The medication administration window will pop up. The nurse is notified that there is a mandatory field that has not been filled out yet, by the blue X. The nurse will click on the highlighted yellow section to further investigate. From the chart for window, the missing mandatory field is the site where the TPN is administered. The nurse will select the brown central line lumen. At this step, the nurse will compare the volume listed here against the volume listed on the TPN bag. Both the Abacus label and the CST Cerner label will be compared. Then, the nurse will compare the rate listed here with the rate listed on the TPN bag. Once again, both labels on the bag will need to be compared. As mentioned before, the only discrepancies the nurse may notice could be the volume between what is listed here and the label. As there is an acceptable range and an overfill volume amount, the nurse will have to double-check that the discrepancies fall within the acceptable limits listed on the Abacus label and the TPN power form. Now the nurse can hang the TPN bag on the IV pump with the correct volume and infusion rate. Now the nurse can click OK. From the window, the nurse can review the order sentence. They will click Sign to return to the MAR page. From the MAR, the TPN order has the completed status and a grayed out check mark. The nurse will click Refresh to refresh the page. Now, the TPN order has updated to state bag begin. Now the nurse will document the TPN intake in iView. The nurse will click on the iView heading and search for the intake and output band. From the band, look for the continuous infusion section. The TPN order should be listed there. If it is not, please refresh the page. Under the current time period, double-click on the empty space. The empty space will automatically calculate the amount of TPN that will be administered during that 1-hour window. As the TPN was not started at exactly 1300, the amount predicted to be infused during the window of 1300 and 1359 is a few milliliters shy of the rate per hour volume. The nurse will click on the green check mark to confirm the volume. The current total volume is listed on the bottom and today's infused volume is listed on the left-hand side. Now, that concludes how TPN is checked, administered, and documented on CST Cerner PowerChart. Please continue to the next video to see what to do in a scenario where the TPN order has been altered.